What's going on, everybody? The Westchester tour of In Full Stride rolls along. We got episode 15 and part 2 of the tour with Haylie Donovan here at Somers. How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
It is a huge pleasure, and not just to have you on, but to finally have an opportunity to give you a lengthy intro, because it felt like all of your outdoor races before the gun went off, I just had to rush through the names because they moved the heat so quickly.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, let's see where we shall start here. You got a whole bunch of school records at this great track facility. Love the mascot too, the Tuskers. You're going to SMU. Yep. You got second in the 400 at States, third in the 300. I mean, what would you have to add to that if you had something that you were most proud of that you've done so far?
Probably just the legacy I left. I think I tried to be as humble as possible and have the younger kids at Somers look up to me, and I think being helpful to everybody. I feel like that's something I'm really proud of. Even though it's not the race, it's something I'm really proud of that I did.
Yeah, right. It's a lot of individuality, but just kind of preaching a lot of those fundamentals and things to remember. It's crazy. I feel like because I'm in the midst of my unretired summer, I've been repeating a lot of positive words of affirmation to myself when I get a race play. I'd say I want to know, what are some of your favorite things to say to yourself when you get on the line before a race?
Yeah, I had to work on that throughout my high school career, because I used to be very negative towards myself before a race because I would be really nervous. But I think by the time I was a senior, I was I actually talk out loud a lot. So sometimes people hear me and they'll look back at me, and I just have to tell myself, I'm you got this, you're going to win. I just give myself positive affirmations. One time, even during a race, the last, I think 150 meters, I said God has got me, as I was running, and I was half out of breath. And I remember the girl I was running with was oh, I heard you say that during the race. And I was
You said that during the race?
Yes. It was one of my very first 400s that I actually it was a competitive 400 my junior year, and I was just praying that I was going to do good. But on the line, I normally just tell myself you got this, you've been working so hard, you're going to go out hard, you're going to finish hard, you've got this. That's all I really repeat to myself.
Yeah. Would you say, obviously I mentioned you have all the sprint school records, right? 100, 200, 300, 400. Which sprint would you say is your favorite or your best?
The 400.
Okay.
Even though that's debatable, 400s are painful, I couldn't agree with that more. I think, 400s are just it's something about it, because I feel the pain makes it feel it's worth it. So when you run, and even though you're in pain, you run a good time, it's the best feeling in the world that I could not even explain to anybody.
Yeah. I want to know too, what's your best part of the 400? Because having watched you really run and grind at that event, I've seen you try a lot of different race strategies. What would you say is your best part of the 400?
I think it depends, but now with my most recent race plan, I definitely need to work on my beginning, because I do not get out hard at all. At the end of a race, my coach is always oh yeah, you didn't get out hard. So I think my best part is probably coming off this last curve, because I've worked on that a lot. With my trainer, I make sure I use quick arms, and I have a lot of strategicness. That's not a word, but when I go into that, so I think that might be my best part of the race, because that's when, if I'm behind, I start to catch up and all that. I also, working on that, I went over wickets at practice the week before States, and I cut my whole entire arm up falling over them. So I was I was a little traumatized, but I made sure to not let that happen during the race at States. So.
Battle scars.
Yeah. But that's definitely the best part of the race.
So I feel as someone who considers himself a predominant finisher, I mean, I did miling in middle school, so I would always just jog and then sprint the last 100. I was I'm a finisher. And when I actually tried to start fast in the 4, I wasn't used to starting a race faster than I would finish it, which is a really foreign feeling, I feel for a lot of predominant finishers in the 400. So what's been the big key to combining that start with that finish as you just gotten more and more races under your belt?
Yeah, I think it's as you do it more, you start to feel it. And I feel even at practice, when I was doing 350 repeats, I was I felt the race as I was running it. I was I think you just, as the more you do it, the more you know how much you should put into the beginning and how much you have to put in the end. So I think over time you start to get kind of a pace. So you kind of just, without thinking, go out. And I think the very beginning of the race, I know exactly the feeling that I had to, does that make sense? The speed that I have to go. Mm-hmm. So I kind of just the more I do it, the more I remember that pace. So I guess that just kind of helped. And then the end, whatever I have left, I just put it all on the track at the very end.
Do the 100s and 200s help with that too? That early speed that you need for the 400?
Definitely the 200. The one I kind of like scratched a little my senior year. I didn't do it as much. Wasn't my best event, but I think the 200 definitely helped me because the 200 I would like kind of like use it in my 4. Like I remember I think I was at nationals, even though nationals didn't go the way I wanted it to. The
Nationals rarely goes the way anybody wants it to go unless your name is Natalie Dumas or something.
Exactly. But I think I used the 200 to like kind of focus on the 4. I was like getting a feel for the 200, so I knew what I had to do in the 4.
You had a really busy May. That's where you set your 200 PR. That was at counties, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah, that was 24:41.
Yes.
And you had already been running a lot of 400s. I think you had run at 55:09 at the Loucks Games, one of the most fabled meets in Westchester County in Section 1. And then you got your 54 also at counties. So you still managed to get that raw speed with all that fatigue in your legs. So just what was that whole period like for you fitness-wise and just constantly looking forward to the next race?
I think I was a little bit nervous in that month because the year prior, my junior year, I burnt out a little bit in May. Like because I went to the Bahamas for Team USA and
that's right. We definitely got to talk about that too, just a reminder.
Yeah, but I think that year, like I was by the end of May, my legs were completely burnt out. My mental state was burnt out. So I think I made sure to prioritize myself and make sure to like focus on just like calming my mind because I knew I was going to be like May had like every weekend was kind of like a very stressful. It wasn't like any calm meets. It was all like very stressful competitive meet. So I made sure to just take a breather, like relax, because that's what you need to do in this sport. That's what I learned is relaxation is like the key to running fast. So I think even though I had a lot of meets, I was excited for them. I just had to calm myself down because I knew this was like my final stretch of senior year and I had so much more I wanted to complete. So I was like, made sure to just calm down. But it was like a really exciting feeling. Like as every meet, I would just hit more and more goals of mine. Even if it wasn't a PR, it was still a win or still just something I was proud of. So I think that's like how I felt throughout that whole month.
Did you also feel prepared having had that junior year where you might have ended the season on tired legs to know what you would do differently this time around?
Definitely. My junior year at the very end, I was like, okay, now I know exactly what I need to do next year. I need to prioritize sleep. I need to prioritize eating. I need to prioritize my mental and physical health because I feel like junior year I wasn't really thinking like, I don't know why, but I wasn't really thinking that like sleep was that important, like eating your diet wasn't that important. So I think I was making sure to just like, everything that I like mistaked junior year, I think definitely like helped me pursue like all the goals my senior year.
And that's not to take anything away from what you had achieved leading up to your junior year. You already mentioned you earned an opportunity to go represent Team USA at the World Relays under 20, what was it, the intro festival? I don't know the exact name of it, but that was just a really cool experience. Would you want to tell us how that went down?
Definitely. Well, I remember it was, I think, a few weeks before it happened. My mom was picking me up from school, and I got in the car, and my Coach Jude was on the phone with my mom, and they were like, Haylie, we have like something to tell you. And I was like, oh, let me see. And Coach Jude started talking about how I was invited to run for Team USA, and I was like, honestly, I think I was just shocked. I didn't really speak. I was like, this is crazy. It was my first big opportunity with track, and I was like, I honestly didn't think it was real. I was like, this is so fake. Like, I was in the Bahamas like 2 weeks prior with my club team for another meet. So I was like, going back to the Bahamas, like running for Team USA, like nothing could be better than that. So I was kind of just like really stoked, and I ended up obviously saying yes. I had to risk a Somers meet, the Somers Lions meet, but I was like, all my coaches were like, just do it.
Yeah, you have the senior Lions club.
Exactly. Yeah. So I was just like, instantly I said yes, and being there was like an awesome experience because I got to run with like some of like, Jaden Marchand.
Yes.
I got to run with him, like Jalen Santiago.
And then like he just announced his transfer to Rutgers. Huge moment. And Jaden Marchand, obviously, he set the school record at Georgetown. So a lot of really good athletes that you got to be alongside.
And the girls too, like Kira Davis, Renna Rubenstein, and like Kayla Swift, who was on my club team at the time.
Yeah.
It was just awesome getting to be there with them, us 8, and it was like a fun like bonding experience, and like also to see how other like competitive athletes like think and how they go about their day. So it was a great experience, and I made some like great friends through that too. So
it was awesome to see the pretty much bulk of representation. They're all from the greater New York City area. Exactly. How did it feel to not just represent this area, but Team USA in the process?
Well, it was like very surreal because when we got there, I was on a bus with like Team Poland, and it was like I was like, wait, this is like crazy. I was like, I had like I felt like proud to be able to like actually like represent something more than just, obviously it's great to represent Somers, but to represent the United States was like
it's like
very
a dream
surreal.
right?
Yeah, I was like, this is just crazy. And like going to like the Team USA tent was like, I think the whole experience just didn't feel real at all.
I think the only step left to complete there is because it was just standard Nike kits. It didn't have the USA across the chest plate, but hey, there's always future opportunities for that.
Yes.
Now, one name that you mentioned that I really want to dedicate a portion of this episode to, Coach Jude.
Yes.
For those of you that don't know, the sports performance group based out of also the greater NYC area, Coach Jude Massillon unfortunately lost his life in May. And that was, again, during that portion of the season that was so busy for you. And to have that weight on your shoulders, losing your coach, I mean, what was that like?
Yeah, it was unexpected, but also expected, because I stopped training with him a couple months prior, but I think most people did because we could tell he was going through something. We just didn't know what it was, and obviously we wanted to give him that space, and I feel like I didn't want to put a burden on him because whatever he was going through, I just wanted to let him have time to himself. So even though like I started training with a different trainer, like our relationship like did not change. He was still texting me and my family all the time, and we were updating him and all that. So I think the whole thing was just very unexpected. I was literally getting my nails done, and I left the nail place, and my mom called me and told me, and my teammates were calling me and telling me, and I was just like, it was like the most like heart-dropping feeling ever. Just knowing that he was gone, it was like awful, but I knew like from that moment on that I had the whole season ahead of me to like not prove myself, but like do what I had to do to make him proud. So I wrote his name on my spikes, and every race was like dedicated to him, and I just made sure to like, I'm just going to make sure to like continue his legacy, because he was like one of the most amazing people like I've ever met that impacted my life like so much. So
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. And what were some of the big impacts that he made on you as an athlete?
Yeah. Well, going into starting to train with him, I trained for him for about a year. I was like a very shy and non-confident person in track, and I think he really brought that out of me. Like there was times where I would go to practice and I would be so unmotivated because I had no confidence, and he just like pushed me to that point where I kind of had to get out of my shell, and I had to put myself in uncomfortable situations to grow my confidence. And I think he really changed who I was as an athlete for the better. And obviously my times as well, he impacted that obviously with his training, but I think it was a lot of like the mental part of it too. He just helped me become like a better athlete and competitor.
With that aspect of you that he was able to bring out of you, right, that I guess extrovertedness sort of, you know, you got to bring your personality out on the track, as they say. Did you notice that over time change as you showed up to meets? Because I know it is not easy when you're a high schooler to be vocal at meets, not in like a trash talky way, but like I wouldn't talk to anyone at meets, especially indoors, because even though I didn't run at the Armory much, it is not the only dry indoor facility. So, you know, you want to do everything you can to keep as much hydration in your mouth as possible before you're running a 400 or 4x4, whatever it is. So what were some of the big changes you noticed over that time?
Yeah, well, I think it was kind of just like how the preparation, because I feel like my freshman and sophomore year, it's not that I didn't take it seriously, but I was so nervous that I would, for every meet, that I would just like talk to like everyone. I would warm up like not enough time to spare, and I kind of just would get my mind off of the race up until the race. And I feel like even though that was sort of helpful to not think about the race, in the long run it wasn't helpful. You have to have a lot of preparation going into it. So I think he would take me and my teammates and pray before our races together. He would come down to the warm-up area and just like sit with us if we were nervous and like tell us exactly what we needed to do and how proud of us he was. So I think it was more of just like the preparation for the races as well. Not just the, like obviously the training is one thing, but I think just him being there and like praying with us. And like before we got on the line, I think this year at Milrose actually, he was like where I was starting, he was right next to it at the track, and I just looked back and he just gave me a big smile, and you can tell what he was like saying, like, you got this, but like without actually saying it. And it just gave, even though I was like really nervous because Milrose is a pretty intense.
You got girls going 38 there.
There was Sophie Rambo a couple lanes ahead of me. I was like, I was really nervous, but just that comfort and knowing that he was like believed in me, I think that was just one of the insane impacts he had on like not just my life, but like everybody's life.
For the 300 specifically, because Milrose was not too long before you hit that 38 that you had been shooting for all indoor season. So when you got on that was that sectionals for the 38 or was that counties? It might have been state quals.
It was state quals.
I got it.
That was
second try.
Yeah, state quals actually every year from sophomore year to senior year. It was when I got my season best for the 300. It was kind of crazy, but it's always at state quals. So
yeah. Well, states was interesting too because, well, obviously you had the state quals 38-85, which was off the heels of that Millrose race, but then you enter an environment like New York State's, which the 300 is probably the most unique event at indoor states with the way it's run. Prelim finals, not necessarily that part, but the fact that it goes to a 7-heat prelim to a 3-heat 4-girl final. Yeah. And you weren't even in the fast heat, and you got third.
Yeah, it was, I honestly, like, New York State's indoor this year was very nerve-wracking to me. I don't know why, but it just was. I think it was just the people I was running with. It was my first year that I actually had, like, a chance coming first, and obviously I didn't come first, but I knew what I had to do, and it was going into that race, actually, the prelims, I think that was when they called a false start.
Yes.
Yeah, that really got in my head, but I think they called a false start like 60 meters into the race, and I just put my all into going out hard, and I remember there was, you know, Brianna Barnett?
Yes, the eventual state champion.
Yep, her coach actually knows Coach Jude, so he was there, and he was like to my mom, oh, is that Haylie? Like, tell her to walk back, don't run back. So I took my sweet old time walking back to the line to, like, recollect myself, and then I went out. Obviously the race felt a little more challenging because I was a little more tired, but I think I was kind of like okay with how I ran, but I knew in the finals I was going to have to do what I had to do. And at first in the finals, you probably saw I wasn't going the way I wanted it to, but the last 50 meters I was like, no, this is my senior year. I have more in me, and I just ran as fast as I can. I was like, I'm not in the fast heat. Like, if I don't come in first in this heat, then I'm probably not going to place. So I just went out there, and even though I didn't PR or anything, I put my all into it especially at the very end. So
I mean, you were in last place coming off the turn, and then you had to ask yourself, who's the finisher? And you finished.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm. I gotta flash it back to that one point you made about, though, from the false start walking back. That brings up another important concept. I feel like, you know, as I've become more serious with the sport, sometimes I ask myself, oh, am I doing enough? Am I getting enough workouts in? Am I doing enough pre-race strides? Like, you probably wanted to, in the back of your mind, were you thinking about, should I jog it back? Should I keep it loose on the way back?
Well, I kind of wanted the race to be, like, done with, because that's how I think how most people feel. Like, you just want the race to go as quick as it can. So I kind of was, like, starting to jog back a little, and that's when he was like, stop, walk back, take your time, because if I jogged back, I would have lost even more energy, and I didn't realize that in the moment. So once he told me, I was like, I think I was the very last person to get to the line, so I was just taking my time and recollecting myself, because I was a little, like, flustered at the fact that I had to run it again, and it would have been over by the time, if it didn't false start, it would have been over already. So I just had to, like, calm down and walk back, and I think that helps me a lot, because if I ran back, then I probably would not have ran fast. So
who knows? I mean, the final, the prelim final, it's a whole lot of stuff to consider. But I think the important theme is being generous to yourself and recognizing all the work that you have done. Do you have any other moments that you can think of from your senior year where you gave yourself a break and, you know, trusted in what you had already done with your coaches and everything?
Yeah, actually, I think I took it, like, before states, I actually took, like, 2-3 weeks off of the 400. I think I ran the 400, I ran my PR, and then the next weekends, I think I did the 200 and the 100 to give myself a little breather. And I was going to run the 400 the next week at state quals, but I ended up just, like, walking off the track at
super
a certain
standard
point. And I also was, for some reason, I got in my head a lot at state quals. That happens at state quals for me when I know I had nothing on the line. Like, I just had to go out there and run. I already had the super standard, but I got in my head, and I didn't tell many people that, but I did get in my head. And obviously I didn't want to, but I did. So I was like, let me just recollect myself. And then I ran at states. And even though I took 3 weeks off, I trusted what I needed to do. I trusted my training. I trusted what mentally I learned that season and what physically I had in me. And I just went out there and didn't change anything about my race and didn't get in my head at all. So I think that was one of those moments during my senior season.
And at states, you ended up still producing yet another personal record. It wasn't a state champion. It's so tough to slice. I feel like second place is probably the most difficult position to put together your complete takeaways for, because there's so many ways that you can break it down. So what are your takeaways from your performance at states?
Obviously, I did want to win. That was my goal. I but I was at work actually like a couple days before states, and I wrote on like 5 index cards like in small letters like I will win, I will win, I will win, like I will run a 53, I will run a 53. And obviously I didn't do either of those, but I think I did put my all into the track, and I think that's all that matters at the end of the day, is going out and having fun and just putting everything that you worked for on the track. So even if I didn't win, I felt like so grateful to be able to run against the girls I did, and also to be able to put exactly what I've been working for on the track.
Even if you had not actually achieved the goals that you had set yourself out to do, I think it's important that you set them in the first place, because had you just gone into it like it was another meet, of course that helps take the pressure off, but if you have something you're shooting for, you never know just how much closer, even if it's a singular hundredth, you might get to it.
And even if it's not like you don't get to it, you're still chasing it, so you would still have the opportunity to sort of get close to that goal. And I think that goal is just going to continue to get closer as I enter college. So
I don't know if anybody was able to detect this. It's actually coming up again now. We got a nice little breeze hitting us in the direction of the 100-meter start line, which would be home stretch headwind, but that would also mean tailwind for the backstretch. Which would you prefer in an ideal 400? Where would you rather have your tailwind, on the backstretch or the home stretch?
The home stretch, because that's when I need the most support and help. I'm definitely like the weakest then, so it's nice when I have a little extra push at the last 100.
I am going to disagree on that, because I would rather have my first 200, like my float phase, be as easy as possible. I wouldn't want any energy sacrifice there. Like when I am finishing in a 400, the last thing I'm thinking about is the win. And that's just like one thing I'm so grateful for about having kept with the event, because it reminds me that no matter how much I think about things like wind before the race or during podcasts like this, that it all just goes out the window. So
I think the beginning of my race, I kind of like don't ever really remember. It's always the end. So that's why in the beginning, like if there is a headwind coming at me, I kind of don't realize until that's why at the very end of the race, I'll realize, because that's when I'm like, oh, I need to finish right now. I'm so tired. And that's when I'll be like, if I have a headwind, I'm like, oh, Lord.
I will say I definitely prefer headwinds in workouts, because that's what challenges you to keep your form. It's less about the time, because that's when you save that for the race, just more about how you run.
Yeah, exactly. Me too. I would 100% say that headwinds during workouts are very beneficial, even though they hurt.
How have the summer workouts been going so far?
They've been going like pretty good. Like I think I've been taking a lot of like more technical stuff so far, and I haven't been doing as much of like intense like longer workouts just yet, because my college coach wants me to just like lay back a little before I get into the more like intense training. But I think I'm also making sure my trainer has been trying to put me into the heat a little more to get used to entering the Texas heat, because if anybody knows Texas, it's known for its heat. So
who knew, right?
You
actually just got back from orientation at SMU.
Yes, I did.
So even though it's 80s right now, this is probably not my ideal weather. I'm sweating just a tidbit. It probably feels like just a calm spring day for you.
Coming back from Texas, it was over 100 degrees almost every single day. It was, at first, it was difficult. We toured the Dallas Cowboys Stadium, and it was burning hot in there, and I was the only person from the Northeast in there, and one of the only people, and I was like, I'm not used to this. We were in like this elevator all together, and I was like leaning against the wall. I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna get used to this. But I think like as the days going on, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna get used to it, and it's gonna have to work. But I think being in Texas really like made me realize, I was like, oh, this is what I'm getting myself into. But I'm so excited. Like I've never been more excited, especially the people I met, and like I've already like talked to so many girls in the team and the coaches, and I'm just like, I'm like probably the most excited I've ever been in my life right now. So
were you as excited when you were going through the recruiting process and eventually arriving at SMU? What was that all like?
The recruiting process was very like scary for me, because I didn't really like know what was going to happen, and I don't think anybody knows what's going to happen during the recruiting process. But I went on 3 visits. I went to Tulane, Georgetown, and SMU, and I automatically like knew it was SMU, but I was trying to stop being so biased, because SMU was my first official visit. So when I went to Georgetown and Tulane, I was like, the second I got there, I was like, no, SMU. But my mom was like, Haylie, you have to like look at this option. You have to take the whole experience in and see what you want. And I think at the end of the day, it ended up being between SMU and Georgetown, and there was a lot of different factors, but I knew from deep down in my heart that it was SMU, and it was a little difficult to pick just because I had to look at the whole big picture. But I think academics and athletics, obviously Georgetown's known for their like academics, but
we already talked about Jaden there.
Yes, definitely. But I think SMU like has a perfect mix of both for me. So I think not just that, but just I feel like I'm like a Dallas girl at heart. I feel like that's where I'm meant to be. So
well, for this Dallas girl, Jerry, please make sure you get the AC working. I'm talking about Jerry Jones, owner of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah.
Would you recommend AT&T Stadium as a good place to go for someone like me who loves watching the Cowboys lose?
I don't know if it would be the greatest place just because they do have
they do win a decent amount of times.
I am a Giants fan and I will forever be a Giants fan.
I'm a Washington fan, so it's not as though we necessarily are friends in the NFL world, but at least we have that and the Eagles that we can agree upon.
I went to a Ranger game too, like the baseball team. I went to a Ranger
Texas
game.
Rangers,
Yeah, and even though it was great, I still had the Yankees in my heart. As a New Yorker, I will never not be loyal to my New York team. So yeah.
That's great. So, what else was it about SMU, that first love that struck home to you and made you almost certain after your first visit? Because that's not something that's easy for anybody who's going to college for any reason to say.
Definitely. Well, there's a lot of different things. One, my grandpa actually lives I feel like 45 minutes from Dallas, and I don't get to see him often because my grandparents and my cousins, obviously Texas I didn't go to that much before I committed, but I think it was awesome to be able to have like family there too. And also another reason is I think the people that I met on the visit, I was like, these are like my type of people. Like they have my humor. They were so welcoming and sweet. I feel like in Texas, everyone there is like incredibly welcoming compared to like, obviously everyone's nice in New York, and it's very
it's
very different in Texas and especially in the South. And then also like not leaning towards track as much, there's also so much opportunities. They have something called Life After Ball for athletes, and it's basically to help you like open up with like job opportunities. So I'm excited for that because I am going into psychology and I kind of want to look into like sports psychology, and I think that hopefully my dream is maybe I can get an internship on like the Dallas Cowboys as a sports psychiatrist or something like that. Like that'd be fun. And then going back to track, I think the coach, like he's been like probably one of my biggest supporters. Even before I was committed, while I was going through the process, he was nonstop like texting me and telling me how proud of me he is, and like basically just giving me so much like comfort. And I feel like he was probably like one of my biggest supporters the whole journey, especially all the way up from when he first reached out to me to now. He's just always cares for me, and I feel like that's something I really look for, especially like having a coach like Coach Jude. Like he set that expectation to what I needed for a coach, and I think Coach Shuttle from SMU was like the coach that I would want. So it was kind of just a mix of a bunch of things.
How important has it been to just have that support system fuel you through the entire grind?
It's honestly like amazing to have a support system. I don't think people realize that, but having a support system, whether it's your best friends that you make through the sport, or if it's your family, or if it's coaches, it's just having people that believe in you like makes like running like all the times better. So I think that just is, I'm so grateful for it, and having like my mom and my dad always being there for me too. It's something I like will forever be grateful for.
It's another thing that I think piggybacks off the point that we were talking about, like at least that I think of when I think of, if I'm not doing enough, there's still such great support behind. I talked about this in a previous episode, how it's like the running community is just so supportive of one another that it doesn't matter if you win or lose, PR or don't PR, they're still there for you. They want to see you do good and live out your dreams and passions. So even if, let's say, after 4 years, your track career is left in limbo, you still have those opportunities that SMU sets you up for afterwards.
Definitely. I also think like I've made so many like forever friendships through the sport. Like especially at the end of the season at counties, we have this little group, and it's like a mix of everyone from all the different Section 1 schools. And I think I made like some of my lifelong friends there, and they made the sport so much more fun. And like we all have the same like goals and the same feelings towards the sport. So I think we are there to also motivate each other and like help each other. And I think just the people I met through this sport are like amazing, whether it's some of my best friends or just like my peers or like my competitors. And I think it's awesome to like realize how much like support you have, like you were just saying. But I think also like you realize how kind everybody is and how everybody's just there for themselves. I feel like with track, there's no people that are really toxic compared to other sports, because I feel like it's such an individual sport that you're kind of happy for everybody, and you're just, obviously everybody wants to win, but I think just being around that like environment and those people just make the sport so much better.
Yeah. You're going to be around another familiar face once you get to the ACC championships now. Of course, I went to Syracuse, and the New York State champion, the only girl that was able to beat Haylie at States, Nysia Jones from Malvern out of Long Island, she's going to be running at Cuse, so that's going to be cool to kind of renew that rivalry as you guys push each other into those 53s, fingers crossed, and eventually if you ever want to go after that 52 school record at SMU. It's pretty cool, though, because coming into your collegiate career, you're already number 5 in your school's history, if you want to consider your 54-42 where it stands right now, but with still 2 seconds to make up, that's like a great blend of being already an established foundation and having a nice high goal to chase, right?
I'm super excited to be able to just work with these amazing girls at SMU too, because they all are insane, and I'm like, that goal is definitely going to be up there for me, especially obviously in the first year I'm going to have to get into it and get used to running at such a high level, especially coming from like Westchester, where I feel like I was always giving myself so much expectations coming first or like winning or something. I feel like going into the ACC, it's going to be like, I'm kind of like a nobody right now, and I have to build that up. And I think it's kind of exciting and also nerve-wracking, but I think it's exciting to kind of have that fresh start. And I think, I'm just like excited to be able to pursue like even more goals and different goals than here.
Yeah, and of course you got all these months to build into it, get familiar with the college experience. I know you talked a lot about how important it is, all the people that you met along the way. Who is one person in the track and field world that you've yet to meet that you would love to meet?
That's like an awesome question. I mean, like, let me think. I feel like I've met a lot of like I would probably say Sydney McLaughlin, but I did meet her.
You did, okay.
I did meet her. I actually got her bib at Grand Prix last year.
Okay.
So I'm trying to think. I would probably say like it'd have to be like a 400 runner, like an Olympian. Let me think. This is a really difficult question. I've never actually thought of this before.
Allison Felix, maybe?
Allison Felix, she actually is like, probably Allison Felix, now that I'm thinking about it. I think I wasn't thinking of her because she hasn't ran in a while, but I think just like someone like as impactful as her, with Sydney, like I didn't get to talk to her really, but I did.
Not that many people do.
I did get to talk to her husband and watch her race with
Andre?
her husband.
Oh my gosh.
Which was awesome, and I just was like fangirling over her, but I think like talking to Allison or even Sydney again and just hearing their journey as athletes, because I think like the 400 is very mentally draining. I think talking to them would definitely like be like on my bucket list to be able to like maybe get some motivation and tips for going into like the big 400 world kind of. It's a great big world.
I've been thinking about that a lot because obviously Sydney just announced that she was going to run it at USA's. This episode will probably be up after USA's, but definitely before Worlds because that's not until September. And I'm planning on releasing this tour throughout the month of August, which I hope you guys are enjoying. If you are, please leave a like. But of course, the world does not stop with Sydney. You've got Aaliyah Butler, you've got Isabella Whitaker, the NCAA champions. You've even got Gabby Thomas up there. She's been running low 49s before.
I did meet her in the World Relays as well.
Oh my gosh,
I got to take a picture with her. She was like so kind. She also seems like she just has like a big heart, and I feel like that's like really important when it comes to the track community, is just being like kind and humble. I feel like that's so important. And you could tell that like athletes like Sydney and Gabby and all of them are just like that, and that's like who I aspire to be like.
I thought of Allison because I've just been geeking out on old World 400 meter races. I was watching the 2017 one where she came third. She obviously was second in that crazy dive against Shawnee Miller. SMU! Oh my God, that's perfect. I love it. But see, no, it's like such a full oval event, right? The 400, I was going to say full circle. I was not going to fall into that trap. But no, it's so great. Just all like the parallels and ways that you can connect it across, not just sprinting, but across track and field. A lot of people may consider it a bridge event for some of those mid-distance runners, but one thing I just admire about you is that even though you consider yourself a 400 main, is that you're a 400 and down sprinter. You resist that urge to go up to the 800.
I cannot. I think my coaches multiple times have tried to convince me to do the 800, and I think they almost got me once. Almost. It was for a dual meet, and I was like, you know what? Let me just do it for fun. Let me just see. I'll run the first 400 all out and just die at the end, which I know from a lot of 800 runners that is not the tactic at all.
You would have probably been ahead of some of the guys if you were doing that.
But I was like, you know what? Whatever I have to do to not go back to the 800. But I think that I ended up not running it. I ended up doing the 100, and I was like, No, it's okay. So maybe in college I'll be forced to do it, but I'm going to pray that I'm not, because I definitely am a 400 and down girl, so.
I am going to pray for you on that too.
Yeah, thank you.
One last question. I mentioned off the top how the elephant and the Somers Tusker is one of my favorite mascots. That's because I always loved elephants as a youngster. What was your favorite animal when you were young?
Probably a dolphin. It still is.
Okay. Do they have like aquariums or dolphin exhibits in Dallas that you can go visit?
They do have aquariums, but I actually went to an aquarium with my cousins while I was there, but they did not have dolphins there. I was really bummed.
I mean, that's probably good for the dolphins.
Yeah, I actually have one more favorite animal. It's actually a sloth, which is really ironic because I'm a sprinter.
Yeah, exactly.
I actually have so many like sloth stuffed animals that my grandparents have given me over the years, and my parents like to say I'm like the laziest runner they know, because the second I'm off the track, I'm doing everything I can to just lay down and not move. So I think that they call me a sloth, even though I am a sprinter, so which is kind of funny, but yeah.
They'll work on that, but they're probably not going to let you do that so much in college.
Yeah.
But hey, just have fun with it and keep enjoying the sport.
I'm so excited.
Keep getting faster, baby. Yeah. Thanks again for your time, Haylie.
Thank you so much for having me. I had so much fun.
Anything else you want to share?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. I just want to say that you and Taylor were my favorite announcers all season. I think you guys made everybody's season even better. To be able to listen back to the recordings and just hear you guys like talking like so good about all of us, I think that was. I'm so jealous that everyone else for the next couple of years are going to get you guys to announce them even more. Maybe one day you guys can come to the ACC, but I think that's all I have to say.
Fingers are crossed on that. But since you mentioned, I am proud to announce that Taylor Massillon will be a guest host for the next episode, the third and final installment of the Westchester Tour. She's still working at the Armory today, so she couldn't join us today. But on her behalf and on behalf of everybody, hope you enjoyed this episode. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Bye.